Good morning, everyone. Welcome to T.O.E TV News. As you are joining, kindly like and love and share. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Mo kí yín káàbọ̀ sórí ìkànnì Tenny ọmọ ológo fún gbogbo àǹfààní ẹ̀yin tí ṣe ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Ẹ bá wa like, ẹ bá wa share. Ìròyìn náà la mú wá fún yín, àwọn ìròyìn òwúrọ̀ àti lọ àti dé tàdé fún yín ní ìròyìn tòní tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́. Bí ẹ̀yin bá ṣe ń ṣe lọ́wọ́, ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa láti bá wa pín, láti bá wa share, láti bá wa tẹ love àti like. Thank you so much. God bless you. Stay with us.
Good to have you back right here on the Raj News channel. It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Triumph for Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke, whose victory at the governorship polls has affirmed and upheld by the Supreme Court. It's a verdict that has sealed the defeat of the challenger Gboyega Oyetola of the All Progressive Congress. The court threw away the petition on the grounds that it was predicated on unfounded allegations and hearsay as evidence. The Rise correspondent Godfrey Shembagai reports.
The race for the Osun State Government House has been a long-drawn legal battle, which was bound to end at the Supreme Court, with a 5-member panel headed by Justice John Okoro assigned the task of deciding the case. In a unanimous judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim, the Apex Court held that Oyetola, the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, failed to prove allegations of improper accreditation of voters and overvoting in 744 polling units across the 10 local government areas of the state. He added that the case lacked merit because of lack of verifiable evidence to establish the allegations. The Apex Court stated that to prove allegations of overvoting, the Form EC8A, BVAS, and voter register are required, items that were not presented by the appellant. It faulted the Osun State Election Petition Tribunal for failing to determine the preliminary objection against its jurisdiction on various issues, adding that it ended up denying respondents their right of fair hearing. The 5-member Apex Court panel further stated that the 2 witnesses brought by Oyetola and the APC did not help their case either, adding that their witness testimonies were merely hearsay evidence. Following the decision of the Supreme Court on the Osun governorship election case, counsels in the matter expressed relief.
You need the voters register, you need the EC8A, you need the difference about the 3 of them. They are the trinity that can prove overvoting.
They must go together.
So they must go together. So today we are very happy because it has thrown more light into the electoral jurisprudence and guidance for not only lawyers and judges, but for the Nigerian community, so that they can understand how the system works. The Supreme Court has, through this case, settled a lot of issues that will come before ongoing tribunals and courts. And that was why, as INEC, we tendered the BVAS machines for the first time in Nigeria. So that today, that is the way to go.
Celebrations by the Adeleke camp trailed the outcome of the case. Godfrey Eshemoge, Arise News.
And Adeleke has commended the Supreme Court for validating his victory. He called the judgment historic and a landmark development in the history of Osun State politics. At his country home in Ede, shortly after the verdict, Adeleke pledged his administration will ramp up implementation of his 5-point agenda, a focus on grassroots development and infrastructure.
Government is people's government. They ain't seen nothing yet. We have a lot of goodies in stock for our lovely Osun people. Even though there was little distraction, we were focused. You journalists can testify to our 100 days in office. I mean, you have seen it all. You went with me, you worked with me, you saw what we have done. And work is still going, despite the fact of little distraction. Now there's no distraction again. We have all our agenda, our 5-point agenda in the making. You just wait and see. My message is that there's no winner, there's no vanquish. So everybody should come together. Now that everything is over now, let's come together and work together and make us great again.
I thank God Almighty, because one with God is a majority. We thank God because from the onset, we have put our trust in the Lord. And I want to thank God that He did not put us to shame.
Not surprising because it is expected, a judgment that is expected because anybody that believes in the rule of law and equity, justice, will know that the judgment should go that way.
A lot to talk about this morning, Aya.
Oh, yes, a lot to talk about. Well, congratulations to the governor of Osun State, Governor Adeleke, Governor Jackson Adeleke, on his victory at the Supreme Court. I was going to say polls, but you know, in Nigeria, in many cases, you go to courts to determine who eventually would be the winner of an election. But the details of the court, as Godfrey Esheboge rightly just gave a brilliant summary of it, before a 5-member panel of justices of the Supreme Court, led by Justice John Okoro, the judgment was delivered in his favor. And as he had mentioned already, reason being that the appellation, if I put it that way, of Governor Yetola's team could not prove or establish the evidence of their priors to the court. Therefore, the court said that they would uphold the ruling of an earlier judgment made by the appeal court. Now, of course, you know the Supreme Court is the final arbitrator, and they often say, as Dr. Abati would say, the next point is you go to God. You go to God to appeal. But what is in this for us? I believe that there are many lessons to be learned, especially because we are now in courts for the Presidential Election Tribunal, and we are looking at what or how it will play out. The first thing is that one of the things we'll recognize is that Governor Adeleke was sworn in November of 2022. This is about 5-6 months later, and he's been distracted by this process in terms of the court processes to establish him as a substantive governor of Osun State. So he's not been able, perhaps, to carry on, headlong, fully with the matters of government. And this is why, again, making the case for expediting the process of justice when it comes to petition matters, especially election petition matters. So this, again, proves the point that it is important to get this done as quickly as possible. This matter went to the tribunal, first lower court, went to the appeal court, and then finally to the Supreme Court. And in that time, he would not have been able to to carry on with the issue, with the matter of governance. That's one issue. The second part of it, of course, would be the process and the importance of beavers. The presidential candidate of the PDP himself had said that this shows that beavers has come to stay, and it would play still a crucial role when it comes to election matters in Nigeria going forward. I think this is quite important for the lawyers at the Presidential Tribunal to obviously be very aware of. And beyond that is this issue of the burden of proof. It's often been said that election tribunals, the burden on the petitioners is to prove the case beyond a shadow of doubt. And usually this is where the challenge might be, because you don't want a case thrown out of court due to technicalities. I want to believe that with the retinue of SANs who are defending the PDP, the Labour Party, the APM, the APP, and other parties who have approached the court, it would be something to take into consideration, because we do not want a matter that will be thrown out of court based on technicalities. Many issues around this, many lessons to be learned from this, but this is now time for Governor Jackson Adeleke to go ahead with the issue of governance. He's quite likable, as you would see. Celebrations, a number of people, there are videos with people in Osun State celebrating, jubilating at the fact that he had won. And it is important for him not to betray the trust of the people, to ensure that, having gone through this process, the people of Osun State matter and it makes them priority. A lot of things need to be done. He needs to roll his sleeves up and get to work.
Congratulations to Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State. The ruling of the Supreme Court must come as a huge relief to him. And it's not surprising that he has attributed his victory to God, and to say that he will rule, he will govern with the fear of God, because it is God that has made his victory possible. Now let's look at the timelines. It will be recalled that about 5 years ago, or is it, yes, 5 years ago, he was also involved in the race for the governorship of Osun State. But he lost that election after a supplementary poll was declared in favor of then Governor Oyetola. And he had to wait for another 4 years. And that election that was held July 16, 2022, he was declared winner. On November 27, 2022, he was sworn in as governor of Osun State. But on January 17, 2023, he was deposed by the tribunal, in the Osun governorship matter on the grounds that there was overvoting in 774 polling units. In March 24, 2023, the Court of Appeal, inquiring into the matter, reinstated him and said he was indeed the lawful winner. And the Oyetola camp and the PDP went all the way to the Supreme Court to challenge the ruling of the Court of Appeal. And then yesterday, the Supreme Court, the apex court of the land, led by Justice John Okoro, declared that the exercise at the level of the tribunal was a nullity. And therefore, the case lacked merit, and the case was dismissed by a unanimous decision. Hence, Governor Ademola Adeleke has been confirmed as the duly, validly elected governor of Osun State. And that's why I started by saying it must come as a big relief to him. And, congratulations to him. Now he can focus on governance. Now, what are some of the issues that their lordships brought up? They said one, the issue about forgery of certificates had been settled by two different courts of appeal, and that the matter didn't need to come up at all. Two, they ruled that the appellants, in this case, the PDP and Governor Oyetola, could not prove that, beavers, there was discrepancy in terms of beavers and IREF Porter. Because the basic case pushed by the Oyetola camp was that the IREF result was not the same as what was indicated with beavers, and that in fact, in 774 polling units, beavers was not used. But the Court of Appeal had stated that what is important is the beavers and the voters register. And what the Supreme Court has done is just to uphold, the importance of the beavers and the voters register, and therefore reach the conclusion that the appellants could not prove their case, that there was overvoting, which is the main substance that, the appellants brought to court. And of course, understandably, this has generated some excitement in the PDP camp, with Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the PDP, issuing a statement to say that this is confirmation that technology has come to stay. So some development in that regard with regard to beavers, which is also something that Paul Ananaba, SAN, counsel to INEC, drew attention to. Beyond all of this, of course, we're told that there has been jubilation in Osun State. Beyond the jubilation in Osun State, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Governor Adeleke, and I think that that is perfectly in order, and he has asked everyone to support him. The president-elect has also congratulated him to also say that, well, congratulations to him, but at the same time, he reserves some praise for Governor Oyetola, whom he says, governed Osun State creditably. Osun APC also has also said the judgment is accepted in good faith, because in any case, at the end of an election, somebody must win, somebody must lose, so that you fight another day. I think that the spirit that has been expressed by all the parties involved, both the winning party and the losing party, must be commended, and that should be the spirit. The court is the last hope of the common man, and once the apex court has ruled, it is important to deepen our democracy that everyone must respect the ruling of the court. And in this regard, the apex court has spoken in the Osun gubernatorial election matter. It's now for Governor Adeleke to focus on governance, to provide the leadership that he has promised, to ensure that the people of Osun State are well served in every regard, and that he does not allow the temptation to begin to hound his predecessor in that office.
So, a couple of things. Congratulations to the winner. And congratulations to the supporters of the governor. What is most important for me is the development on the lives of the people. And he says, you ain't seen nothing yet. if I want to translate that, I'm a huge fan of Wasu Ayinde Marshall, so in my head that rings, Tiri Keke. I just hope that rings on the path of development for the long-suffering Osun people. But a part of me, and I would like to get the full judgment. Maybe if the full judgment, the PDF form is out, then I can read through and I can make my inference. But a couple of things I saw from the story that I'm a little bit iffy about. And this is it. The court relied on the information by the petitioner says, well, not a direct record of the number of accredited voters. The Apex court also noted that information at the back-end server might not be accurate because beavers might fail to transmit records of several reasons, including poor internet, loss of battery power, failure of INEC to properly press or submit button, and others. So the database or any extract of it contains only what is transmitted from beavers and cannot be a complete, accurate record of information in the beavers. The court further said that no law requires presiding officer to transmit number of accredited voters or accreditation of the polls to the database or back end of the INEC server. And for me, I'm a little bit taken aback because I remembered at some point when they were about to reconfigure the server after the first batch of elections, they said they were going to send it to the server on the back end. So if the court is saying that the back end might be iffy here, I'm taken aback. And these are the concerns. But my concerns will always be established. And please don't quote me. My concerns will always be established until I read the full judgment. But if my memory serves me right, INEC said at some point when they're about to reconfigure the beavers, and they were going to back it up on the server. And people can get their details from there. But now the Apex court said that might be inaccurate. That's my first submission. And let's look at how all of this pans out. Let's see how jurisprudence will go about election case, because this is the first of its kind in the use of technology. And for me, I always see this Osun case as sort of like a locus classicus, based on what we'll have on ground. But that's a middle ground I would like to understand. Like you said, Ayo, the burden of proof is something that's really scary in this country. Telling somebody how can they, if they can provide the voter accreditation, voter register for 774 polling units, 774 beavers machines and all of that. And now they are saying that the server backup is inaccurate in court. I'm a little bit, iffy, but let me wait till I see the full judgment to be able to read it myself and digest and make more interpretation. But I just pointed out that only that in this conversation prior to now, INEC said they were going to back up in the back-end server, and it is this same back-end server the court is saying might not probably give you an accurate something because there might be a lot of encumbrances around it. All right, move on to the next story. Indications emerged yesterday that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, All Progressive Congress, and President-elect Bola Tinubu might oppose the request by presidential candidates of People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, for live broadcast of proceedings of presidential election petition court sitting in Abuja. Atiku Abubakar, through his counsel, made the application during the pre-hearing session of the petitioner's activities at the election petition court enters day 2. His counsel says allowing the application will facilitate the hearing of the case. The court has also heard that the pre-hearing session of the Allied People's Movement, the case was adjourned to Thursday, May 11 for the continuation of pre-hearing cases.
We also brought up the issue of the motion on notice which we filed and which we served on all the parties in the case. And that is the motion for the live televising of the proceedings in this case, because we consider these proceedings very, very critical and important to the nation, one in which every Nigerian is a stakeholder. So this motion will come up perhaps on Thursday when this matter is adjourned to. It's been expected that the other parties will file their responses so that the court will take a decision on it. So we are coming back on Thursday.
All right, Aya.
All right, okay, so that's the, should the Election Petition Tribunal, the proceedings be televised or not? This debate around this issue has come on, especially following the PDP or Waziri Atiku Abubakar's prayers to the court to consider, perhaps or move the motion to consider televising, because it's at the discretion of the courts to televise the proceedings of the court in this matter. In modern democracies, in more modern democracies than Nigeria, there have been arguments around this, the pros and the cons. It's obvious what the pros are, and are cited by the lawyer, that in the fact that in the spirit of transparency and to carry the Nigerian people along, bearing in mind that when the election results were announced, it was done on television and everyone was able to follow the collation, the announcement in Abuja. We all watched it. We were able to even do our little maths here and there to arrive at the result before the official declarations by INEC. It enabled people to feel as if they were carried along in the process. Now, the matter is before the courts, and then they're asking that in the same vein, Nigerians ought to be aware of what is going on so that we can see, and, you know, there's no room for issues around, oh, was this fair enough, or did it happen or not? So that's the pro in that instance. The second part of the advantage of that is that it's an opportunity to educate Nigerians, for them to see how things work in this kind of proceeding and to feel confident in the process of the courts, and to earn, for the courts to earn the trust of Nigeria. However, we must also look at the disadvantages, which perhaps the APC and INEC might argue, which is that in the past, we've seen that cases like this are at risk of being sensationalized and a number of distractions, especially in the age of social media. We often cite the Oputa panel as an example, but we recall that during the Oputa panel, social media was not as big as it is today in terms of, a media trial, people stigmatizing some judges and some lawyers in this instance. By the end of the day, we believe that the court would rule whether it would be in the best interest of the public to televise or not.
Well, yesterday at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, Justice Salmani gave the directive that the request by the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party for a live broadcast, that the application filed by the PDP, as advised by counsel, should be treated as a priority consideration, will be considered, so said Justice Samani, alongside other issues. And he asked counsel to all the parties to seek to reconcile the various objections in their petitions, and then accordingly adjourned the hearing till Thursday, which will be tomorrow. Now, the judge, having ruled that that matter of the request for live broadcast will be considered along with other issues, it will be presumptuous. Indeed, it will be contemptuous for us to try to prejudge the court. What we can say is to rely on the statements by counsel to the affected parties. Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, appearing for APC, Chifakin Olujime, SAN, appearing for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then, counsel also to INEC, all agree that, look, the request is innocuous, that they should be given time to respond to the issues that have arisen, which, will be before the court tomorrow. So it is up to the court to consider the matter as the court has declared, and then we will know what the outcome of that is. The speculation is that the APC and INEC are likely to go against it. But if the council have already said it's innocuous, I think we should wait to see the arguments that they will advance. However, the expectation of Nigerians, the temptation, the predilection, is to go with the argument put before the court by Labour Party and the PDP, and also further, articulated by Debo Olugmagba, spokesperson to the PDP, who is himself a lawyer, that in the interest of transparency and accountability, and given the importance of the dispute that is before the court, it will be, of good interest for Nigerians to follow the proceedings on television. Well, this will not be the first time, if the court agrees to do so, that has been done. As Femi Falana, SAN, has argued, it will be nothing unusual. But in any case, the thing for everybody to note is that, yes, while their lordships are also members of society, watching it on television, would make it open to all of us. But at the end of the day, the argument will be canvassed in the courtroom. And it is, how each party to the matter is able to advance its case. Not the emotional, pastoral fulminations, in the public space. That's not what would determine a case before the court of law.
Also, one thing is certain. If we want to build a country, morally, we'll build on the lines of integrity. I know there's also a part for the law that says the law is the law. The law might not be moral sometimes.
The law is not morality.
Yeah, that's what I said. The law might not be moral sometimes. And the fact that people say, let's uphold the law, let's make arguments and logical arguments. But we cannot divide that from the fact that this is a very highly contested case. And it is also a case of public morality. Apart from the law, it is also a case of public morality. Because public morality feeds into public sentiment and public perception. Because this case is a path to healing and building our nation. And how can you heal if there's no integrity and justice and openness? Yes, it could be called sermonizing or being pastoral in outlook. But we got a country to heal. But how can we heal if there is no transparency and openness? How can we heal if the people of Nigeria that are affected by this do not even get a chance to hear their arguments, the arguments in the court firsthand, not somebody being in the court and doing a reporter's speech on social media, which will even bring more sensationalism as regards the case, which we forget in a hurry. So for those arguing that it will be a circus on social media, heck yeah, everything is a circus on social media these days. And mostly those are the people that even pay to feel the circus nature of social media. Those are those that pay the actors on social media, like the Lafayettes and the Houdinis, to make a caricature of every sensitive, logical national matter on social media. But what will save us is when the people get a chance to see and hear for themselves and make up their mind what they will. Either way, it's going to be a circus. I talked about Oputa panel. Heck yeah, Oputa panel was a circus on the pages of the newspaper. Columnists like the likes of Dr. Ruben Abati had a field day writing about the explosive revelations they heard in the Oputa panel. Either ways, the people deserve a right to know. It could be a pastoral argument I'm making, but one thing I know, morality is not law, but morality does build society. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Michael Wilson give us updates on global business activities. Stay with us.